it taps into something very old, very wild, there is something that is very indigenous to us about all of this work. Very indigenous and native, no matter where we come from, about story. We understand and we know story in our bones. Every one of us comes from story. We understand gesture and movement. That is what we are, it's what we're made of. And this interplay between gesture and story and gesture. There are gestures inside of story, and there are stories inside of our gestures. All of our gestures of living and being and becoming, all of the gestures of the natural cycle of life, a gesture of spring becoming summer, and the gesture of summer becoming fall, and fall becoming winter, and winter becoming spring. All of those inherently inside of nature have a gesture to them. And Liz Koch is a very beloved colleague and friend and teacher of mine, and has been very influential in some of her language to me. And it is so deeply a part of my work at this point, which is the truth that we don't have a body, we are a body. That the way that we have been trained to relate objectively to everything, to make everything an object that's over there, that then we need to manipulate in some way in order to whatever. That we don't have a body, we are a body. And what the body is a natural process. That we are a living process, that we are nature. We're not just like nature, we're not a metaphor for nature. We are a living process that is right now in the same becoming that we were when we were forming as an embryo, when we were born through our entire development. Inside of us still is the embryological blueprint of becoming. Inside of all of us is the immense energy of our conception, the creative energy of conception. And inside of all of us is the Big Bang, is the Big Bang that created the universe, that is actually unfolding still. That we are in a process of becoming and becoming and becoming and becoming through all stages of a natural cycle. And that as the body is a process, so in all of the gestures, there is some kind of expression toward becoming, and also an expression toward coherence and toward coherence. Is that a word that translates? Yeah, coherence. Is there? Yes, I'm getting nods. Like a like a wholeness, that nature knows how to find its way. Nature is always seeking its way toward wholeness. And that there are gestures living inside of us, wanting to express, waiting to express, that are reaching toward some kind of equilibrium and wholeness and healing. That we are always gesturing, and inside of those gestures is some kind of story of how we are becoming. And inside of story, excuse me, it's allergy season here. Inside of story, there are motions inside of story that have gestures to them. And that we go in, one of the things, Dr. E is how I speak about Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote the book. She's been a teacher of mine for a long time, over a decade. I've been studying with her in person, which has been very profound experience to learn story through her and from her. But something she speaks about in the book is that stories are meant to set inner life back into motion. Places where our inner life has become cornered or confused or dead or blank or disabled or afraid, that stories have the power to reflect something and set something back into motion through their very particular pattern. And then we go into the archetypal qigong motions. And what basically the archetypal qigong, in some ways, Vera, I agree with you. It's almost like not qigong, although maybe then everything is qigong. It's sort of like it's an energetic gesture that is very primal and has a sort of symbolic movement inside of it, that if we allow ourselves to make a gesture, this gesture, how much do we get to just make that gesture in our life? We don't, but it expresses something that we need to express. All this different, like, entire cosmology of gestures that then emerge parts of ourselves that are sort of waiting to express, but haven't been given the circumstance potentially to express. And so we go into the gestures. I mean, the way I work with them is we go into the story and then we work inside of the story and then we stand up and do gesture. And then from gesture, we may go to the ground and let everything dissolve. Both Elena and Susanna are speaking about the power and the simplicity, and Vera too, of coming down to the ground and getting our bones connected to ground and gravity and earth in the sort of reality that we are spine-based fluid animals. We are not machines, and we so much are living inside of a mechanical model of being and understanding of body and the understanding of our relationship with life. And so we do this beautiful flow between going into the map and pattern inside of a story that's showing us. I'll reference a few different motifs. Where we lost our fire, the Vasilisa Baba Yaga story. Where did the fire get put out? How did the fire get put out? What is the journey necessary that we have to walk into the forest in the dark to confront the Baba Yaga, the wild hag, and ask for fire? We go through this initiation, relating to stories as if we are inside of the story and the story is inside of us, that the story is also not an object. As soon as we set a story into motion through the telling of it, it starts to move inside in dreams, in little insights. Who put the fire out? We go into maybe the Baba Yaga story. We go into the what's the word? The Bluebeard word? I like that. Azul. What's the first word?
Barba azul. Barba.
Barbazul. Barbazul. Barbazul.
Barba
Barbazul.
azul.
Barba Azul. We go into the Barba Azul story, an entire story about knowing something was off about this man with a blue beard, but we decided to marry him anyway. And what does it cost us to marry something that we knew was not going to be good for us? What happens when we walk in and we marry this force, and then we realize that what this force wants is to kill vital essence in us? What is it to confront what that has cost us? How do we get out of that? So inside of story are these incredible, and here's what I love also. I never know what story we're going to do when I work in person with a group. So we show up and the story shows up. It's always so amazing how that happens. We have an opening circle and then the story starts to show its face. The story is very alive. And so we go into the story, and then out of that story, okay, let's drop the words of the story. Let's go into gestures that take us into our own relationship with fire. What is our own relationship with fire? This fire that emanates in the center that we need, for example, for everything in our life, the spark. Where has the fire gone? How long has it been gone? There's a motif in the La Llorona story, the weeping woman La Llorona dragging the river What is the state of our river? How healthy is our river? All of these motifs about the way life force is moving through us. And inside of story, this is a language I understood. I mean, this is what came to me about both the archetypal Qigong and stories. I first started studying the archetypal Qigong, and then I started working with Dr. E and working with the stories. And in both of them, I realized that there was a map, a mirror, and medicine in the very same thing. That inside of story, there's a map. There's a map that helps us understand how we got to where we are right now, which is there's likely something in our life we're trying to recover. We're trying to reconnect to. We're trying to make so that it is um, more alive, to set life inside back into motion, to reconnect with vitality, to reconnect with something deep and true in our bones, not dictated by the culture, by the world, by the politics, by anything outside of us. What is it to come back into a capacity to be living from a truth and an embodiment that is so deeply personal and connected to the entire ecology of everything around us? So we have a pattern of a map in the movement. We have a mirror. We see ourselves. We see exactly where we are. Where am I in this story? Where am I? What is my relationship to this particular gesture? And then in the same motion, we're actually drinking in the medicine. There's a nourishing quality to all of it. And then we'll go to the ground and let it all go and let it dissolve. This kind of play between coming to the earth, to the simplicity of that relationship, and then rising up into form, going from dissolving to form, and a play of story in between all of that. It's one of the most, what I love so much about the work, and Elena, you spoke to it, is that and so did you, Susanna, is it's like, it's not just a work we go and learn something cool at a workshop for the weekend and then sort of move on. Where we go in the workshop is so deep, and we go there together. It's really profound to be in the work together. I mean, I consider the work, when we enter it together, it's like we're in a ceremony. There is something profoundly sacred. It is like being inside of a ceremonial space where what is emerging out of all of us is really just deep, deep wisdom. And someone can speak something from across the circle, and it becomes the aha for someone over here. There's this weaving of intelligence when we enter this field. And the field is not any kind of magical thing, it is just what happens when we actually land in bones and gravity in a space and slow things down and let a very intelligent field that we're made of and we're interacting inside of start to emerge. I've watched this work be able to move, like give insight. It's like so many of us will come to things we've sort of been trying to court and find for a long time through just the directness and the power of going in through a story, being able to see things we've never seen. Story very different than psychology. It's what I love so much. We have a very therapy heavy culture in the United States. I don't know what it is like in Portugal. It feels like you have a much more rounded cosmology of healing and being than we do. But what I love about story is it's so rich because it's archetypal. It's going in through our understanding of symbol. It's why I call the work, when I do this work online, I call it mother tongue. That, like, no matter what language we speak, our mother tongue is story and movement. It is symbol and movement. It's how we dream. It's how we are. We are animals that are gesturing all the time. And so there's a way that in the richness of the story, and we'll find out what story calls to us. because it's sort of everyone who comes together. There's a theme that starts to emerge, and then there's one story that will raise its hand and say, I am the map. I am the map for you for this weekend. And it is very alive and very rich. And so there's an invitation in the work to, I guess I was saying there's something very enduring and sort of like deep that happens in the work, because we're not just using cognition. We're not just going in through the brain. We're really kind of knocking on doors and unlocking things in the cells, in the symbol world, in dream life. And I think one of the most beautiful things about the work is it helps us remember that life is always speaking to us, always. That life is always speaking to us, that the path has never run out, that no matter where or how we've lost our fire, for example, it is right here. That what we are really made of can never actually be extinguished or touched. That there is such a beautiful um, reconnection to something that is actually a force of life and trust, that is, I think, something we begin to feel the intelligence of our own life, and we get to see what is trying to be expressed through our exhaustion, through our um, fear, through our resistance, through like whatever's unfolding actually in our life. We can come to find and see the wisdom in it, and also unlock kind of pathways where we haven't previously seen.